I will be discussing films from the subgenre coming-of-age stories and the differences and similarities of the two. My first film is Lady Bird, a major modern-day coming-of-age story, and the second is American Graffiti, a widely known coming-of-age story set in the 60s but made in the 70s. These two films are able to show how different American culture is from the 60s to the 2000s and how that shows through the actual stories. In a coming-of-age story, the protagonist, usually an adolescent, experiences a significant event, a turning point or illuminating moment that brings an adult understanding of the world. The incident causes a loss of innocence. The protagonist can no longer live in a completely sheltered world as a child. The two films I will be discussing today reflect the coming-of-age stories and the loss of innocence for teens of their eras. I will talk about how the two compare and how they differ. Each film deals with the classic points of a coming-of-age story: teen romance, college, friend conflicts, teen recklessness, and more. Contrary to Lady Bird, American Graffiti takes place in the span of one night, as a group of friends spend their last night together making decisions that would impact them the rest of their life. This implies the culture of the 60s was much more spur of the moment and kids were growing up faster, rather than in Lady Bird, which takes place over a school year, really showing the main character and how she progresses and grows. American Graffiti showcases three different love stories. First, Terry and Debbie, the classic boy meets girl, lies to make himself seem impressive, girl finds out truth, but doesn't care anyway.
For hunting. I do a lot of hunting, you know. Yeah, deer mostly. Got a couple of bear last year. Yeah, those were good ponies. Had to train them special myself. Took a lot of time.
Yeah, do you still have them? We can go for a ride.
In this fast-paced romance, the two find themselves quickly racing to go all the way, without really questioning it. During the 60s, for males, losing their virginity when young was an achievement, one that made them masculine, which is why a large aspect of the film centers around this nerdy character gaining respect through his loss of innocence. Lady Bird also rushes into this, not thinking it's a big deal, but feels the bitter repercussions. Instead of feeling empowered, her loss of innocence makes her upset. She can never get back what she gave away, reflecting how modern teens' first experiences are. This not only shows the contrast between eras, but the difference in the male perspectives than the females. The second love story in American Graffiti centers around Steve, who recently graduated and is now planning on going to college on the East Coast, and Lori, his longtime girlfriend, who is a year younger. The two struggle with letting go of their relationship, and throughout the night, they get into many fights because of this.
See, go ahead. Slug me, scar my face. I wouldn't dance with you if you were the last guy after this gym.
Ultimately, Steve gives in to Lori and decides to stay back to attend at a community college in order to be with her. Lady Bird finds herself in a similar situation, but instead of a love interest, the conflict is with her mom. Her mom is not ready to let her go yet, and right from the beginning, she expresses her feelings of wanting Lady Bird to stay near Sacramento, or at least California.
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail, and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
Ultimately, Lady Bird decides to attend a university in New York City, fleeing the nest. This shows how in the 60s, people were less likely to leave home and stay with people they grew up with, while in modern times, most people are out taking risks and putting their dreams ahead of a high school romance. Of course, out of the whole group in American Graffiti, one of them does follow through, and in the end, leaves to attend a college back east. Kurt represents the rare occurrences in the 60s where one escapes the hold of their town, and anything holding them back.
I know, you probably think you're a big shot going off like this. But you're still a punk. Okay, John? So long. So long.
Another difference in the film and time periods is the male and female roles. American Graffiti is all about a group of boys. All the main characters are boys, while all the girls are supporting characters that lack any development. They do not go through a growing process like the men. The 60s and 70s were very much male-oriented. Women were still seen as inferior. At one point in the film, Steve is trying to get his girlfriend Lori to go all the way since his last night with her, and when she refuses, he says,
Come on, you want it and you know it. Don't be so damn self-righteous with me.
While this stood out to me, it was quickly brushed over in the film. The lines seemed to have no meaning at all and didn't carry through in the plot. Nowadays, we obviously see this as incredibly wrong, just as many other things. Lady Bird is all about one girl's journey. She doesn't just fit into a stereotypical box, but shows complexity and growth. The film industry has begun to extend the complexity of females' roles, like Lady Bird. The two periods are vastly different in this way. But of course, we still see overlap. When displaying the lives of teens, the sheer recklessness has to be shown. Both films showcase the use of alcohol and the effects it has on the teens.
Oh, rats. Oh, I feel terrible. What do you want us to do? She's drunk.
While these may be two different times where the culture in America was vastly different, the teen experiences have similarities. No matter the generation, whether it's the 60s or the 2000s, there is a set of things everyone can relate to in a coming-of-age story. American Graffiti and Lady Bird show these cultural differences and similarities among youth in America.